Call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? And Chief, on your way back, can you start us off?
I can do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comments this evening? No one's going to come up and make a public comment besides what's on the agenda? No? All right. We'll get on to the next item. It's the consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. A couple things on there. Number one, I want to make sure that you realize that we're reappointing Roger Craddock to the representatives on the Coos Bay North Bend Visitors Convention Bureau with Lucinda. And the election results are in, that we are the official canvass, and also the audit. So those are things that the audit I know that we've discussed in the past, which came through with flying colors. And so Nicole and her staff should be recommended or commended again, and so be it. That's it on my comments. Anyone else?
I just wanted to commend Councilor Kilmer for the most votes and say well done you. And I just wanted to point out that I am not a representative on the VCB for the city, but rather the Coco Indian tribe.
Correct. There's one representative, yeah, Coos Bay, Robert's a representative.
Yes.
And who is the North Bend, Larry still the representative for North Bend?
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe Monahan?
Is the hotel representative.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. And I think we have a special treat tonight, introduction of our new K-9. And Deputy Chief Chris Chappenar is going to handle that for us.
Yeah. We'll have Officer Jordan Waddington and Mika come in here. And I'll just kind of get started. But first off, good evening. Thank you guys for allowing us a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to introduce the newest addition to our police department and our K-9 program. As you guys are probably well aware, Coos Bay Police Department has had a long history of a successful and active K-9 program dating back to 1975, where actually in 75 we had 3 utility dogs. Obviously we've kept an active program all the way through till current times, and we've generally had detection dogs as well as patrol dogs. Until just recently, we only had 2 detection dogs and no patrol dogs. And our detection dogs, one of them is being handled by Senior Officer Brian Looney, and that's Katie. And then the other one is being handled by Officer Rob Scoville, and that is Ben. And so those are detection dogs. They're obviously geared towards locating narcotics, assisting in narcotic investigations. But where we were missing to our program, because of the recent retirement of our previous utility dog, was a patrol apprehension dog. So our patrol apprehension dogs, we have had very much success in the past using them as obviously means to help us locate a suspect that may not want to talk to us for some reason, hiding from us. As well as we've used them for article searches. We've been very successful in article searches. We've located firearms in the past associated to crimes, as well as we've even had some success in a search and rescue application where we located an elderly female and saved her life with our utility dogs. So we obviously recognize that this is a huge asset value to our program, and so we had a process, a selection of our newest handler, and Officer Jordan Waddington rose to the top in that process and was selected. And then we started looking at, well, how are we going to fund this? Because these dogs are not cheap, and the program and the training is not cheap. And so The Officer Waddington, Officer Scoville, Officer Looney, as well as Sergeant Sean Merritt, they began fundraising efforts in early spring of 2020. They went to the community, started soliciting for donations as well as businesses. They even hosted a very successful golf tournament in the summer, and just overwhelming support from our community. As we already know, we have a very supportive community, and they actually raised over $20,000.
Wow, that's great.
Tremendous fundraising efforts, and it actually gave the program enough funds to go out and actually purchase the canine. And so on the 8th of November, we traveled to California for about 3 days, Southern California. There's a vendor out of Riverside, California that we've used in the past and it's been very successful. And they are constantly bringing in new dogs from Europe. And so we went down there, spent a couple days. We got to test a few dogs, and we feel very blessed with the opportunity to have gotten to test Mika. And we ultimately liked what we saw with Mika. We felt it would be a great match and blend for our community and what we needed, and not only just Coos Bay, but county-wide. And so we selected Mika, purchased Mika, and Mika's a 3.5-year-old Belgian Malinois, and they are their own breed. It's not a shepherd breed, but it is a Malinois, and he is actually from Holland, and so his commands are given in Dutch. So, Officer Waddington's learning Dutch, but we've already warned him this does not qualify for the incentive pay for being bilingual. So he's learning. We brought him back, and then he actually starts that learning process where they need to blend together, bond. The first couple of weeks, he just stayed at Officer Waddington's house, and they really didn't do much of anything other than just interacting, socializing with each other, feeding and whatnot like that. And then on the 22nd, he began his 6-week course where he actually is teamed up with a master trainer. And Oregon, we have the privilege of actually having a really good canine association, and also just a wealth of information out in Oregon of handlers and trainers. And his trainer that's actually training him is a retired canine handler of many years, just a wealth of knowledge. Mr. Dan Kloss, he's actually here tonight. And so what they do is they take these dogs and they start again basically a 6-week training course, and they take the dog and they transition the dog from a sports dog, and they transition them into a police dog, utilizing all the sports disciplines that they learned, like obedience, animal protection, tracking, white work, and all that kind of stuff. But now they got to blend them and make them a police dog. And so they are in their 4th week of their 6-week course, and another kind of proud thing we wanted to share with you guys is they have to every year recertify and go through what we call standards, and generally that's sometimes kind of a hit and miss on whether or not they're going to be able to do that in that 6-week course. They passed all 4 of the handlers and the teams that Mr. Kloss is training. They passed their standards last week and the 3rd week. So that was a huge feat. But so anyhow, this is, like I said, this is Mika. This is our new addition to our canine program, and he's got 2 more after this week. He's got 2 more weeks, and then we'll have him back, and we can start to actually deploy him. So,
That's great.
yeah. Do you guys have any questions or?
Questions, anyone?
I just wanted to thank Officer Merritt and the group who helped raise the $20,000 to get this dog. Thank you very much. And Deputy Chief Chaffin, I was going to give you about time about gender equity, but I see Katie is in the mix. So we have some female and male dogs, which makes me very happy.
So do they have bulletproof vests for dogs?
So yes, they do make them, and we actually have some. We generally are somewhat selective on when we use those, because if they get near water, it could be a problem for them. Also, they're heavy and they can, get fatigued pretty quick, and so, but we do have them available, and we have used them in the past.
Beautiful dog.
Any other questions, anyone? Well, I think it's a great program. Well, I know it's a great program, and so I'm glad you were able to raise the funds through the community and get another canine, so that's great. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dog.
Yeah.
So the next item is appointment to the Parks Commission and Coos Bay North Bend Water Board. So if I understand correct, Melissa, you're going to send us an email, is that right?
I just did.
Well, thank you.
What is the email, Mr. Mayor?
So an email would give us the availability to vote.
COVID-friendly voting.
Well, let's see here. Let me do it this way then.
How do we do it?
Do we do a reply all?
Is that how we do it?
A reply or reply all?
I don't think it matters.
Just
does it?
reply.
That's what I thought.
I do reply all?
Oh my gosh, I can't type.
Well, heck. All right, I'm doing it this way.
Can I just put an X next to the ones and just reply that
You
way?
should be able
Automatically
to
do it.
click in them.
Okay.
What?
Do a what?
You should be able to click in the
If
boxes.
you click on the box, it'll automatically.
It will? Mine didn't.
Turn it off, Rob.
I got lucky.
I'm
How
sorry.
come yours worked?
Counselor Miles.
Oh, it did.
I
Oh, my
couldn't get it
gosh.
to work, it won't work on my phone.
No,
I
it won't. You have to go
only
to,
have
you
it
have
on
to
my
go
phone.
in
I
here.
don't have it on.
Oh,
We need a training session.
yeah.
This is the training session.
Pencil and paper.
Oh,
always
Melissa,
work
yeah,
together.
Melissa responded to all, so we got Lucinda's,
Yes.
I'm thinking. All right, I think you got it, Melissa, I hope.
Oh, here we go.
It didn't work out.
You have to go through 7 emails, and hopefully she got it.
For Parks Commission, Colleen Sutton, Beverly Myers, Patty Scott. For the Coos Bay North Bend Water Board, Melissa Cribbins.
All right, so everyone hear that? Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the, and I want to thank everyone that applied for this. It's important that we have volunteers that want to step up and do this, and so thank you for all that did apply. And we're going to do some more interviews next council meeting, Roger, is that correct?
Yes, you'll do interviews for the Budget Committee and Design Assistance Team.
Okay.
We do have one other group of candidates, and it is for the homeless work group or homeless committee. And my suggestion on that, there are a large number of applicants, and I would suggest to the council that possibly you assign the interviews to the two counselors on that committee and myself, and we could probably bring back a slate of recommendations for your consideration.
Is that all right with everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Roger. And Drew and Stephanie.
Yes.
All right, next item on the agenda is consideration of Jacob's Agreement, Amendment 3 for the operation and maintenance of wastewater system. As you know, that there's been some time spent with staff on this, and we, at our last meeting, had some discussion with Jacob's representative, and I guess, if I understand correctly from reading everything, that we have a potential suggestion from staff. And Jim, you have the floor on this one. Now, hopefully, it's something that we can all agree on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff spent, like you said, considerable amount of time negotiating with Jacobs on this amendment number 3 for our current operations, maintenance, and management contract with them for maintaining our wastewater system. Recently, Jacobs provided a proposal that staff felt we could recommend for approval. This Amendment 3 has the following components. Number 1, reduction in the management fee from 18% to 11% beginning January 1st, 2021. Number 2, for the first 6 months of the contract period, that is July 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020, Jacobs will charge the same monthly amount agreed upon for Amendment 2. This results in no escalation for the first 6 months of this fiscal year. Number 3 includes a clause that provides the city 180 days to terminate the contract, or a no-fault clause. Number 4 provides a clause to give a rebate if personnel positions are not filled. So if council agrees, Amendment 3 would be reduced approximately $350,000 less than what Jacobs was previously requesting. By approving Amendment 3 with the above conditions, it will bring the contract current, and the focus can be on our next steps. Should council desire, staff will bring next steps options for council's consideration at the December 22nd work session. So what we're asking council to consider is approving Jacobs Amendment 3 for the operations, maintenance, management of the wastewater system for this fiscal year ending 2021 for an amount of $2,194,184.
So we're still doing the collection system.
Under this, no, because we wouldn't start the collection system until July 1. This cost and this amendment takes us through June 30th with Jacobs running the entire system.
No, didn't we, it was discussed that we would do the collection system?
Yes, sir.
And-
We're currently looking at a transition, putting together a transition plan for that,
Okay,
so that we take over collection July 1,
gotcha.
2021.
Okay.
Jim, does this keep us within budget with the fees, the management fees going from 18% to 11%?
Yes, it does.
So it won't impact any pending projects that we had through the
No,
end of the
it
year,
won't.
fiscal year?
That's correct. It will not.
Wow, I'd like to commend the staff
Yeah.
and Jacobs for coming together to put together a really great solution.
Yeah. And we would want to be forthcoming, and that Jacobs came to the table. They made a lot of concessions and offered a number of the concessions.
It's great.
I have a couple of questions. One is, how will the city know or monitor whether they fall between or fall under 17 FTE? Because it looks like there's a rebate if they don't have that many on there.
That's correct, there will be. And so we have, Jennifer spends a lot of time interacting with the contractor, so that's essentially the way we'll do that. And we depend on Jacobs to also be forthcoming with us.
And on their PowerPoint that was attached here, on slide 5, the fee analysis, can you explain what that says? Because I don't understand it.
So what they were trying to show there and is that their contract escalation compared to showing how they're, I'm sorry, let me look at this one more time and then I'll get it. I'm trying to remember what Steve told me.
You can get back to me on that.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, what they were trying to actually demonstrate to us that several years ago, basically, the cost to provide the service escalated at a higher rate than the fee that they were charging us, and they were not adjusting their fees appropriately to cover their costs, and therefore, that's why they came back after, during this past year with such a large increase.
So
But
that's
that's
what the yellow line is, why it's so steep.
Correct. That would have been the revised offer.
But that's in part because they were being run by different companies that have been bought out by Jacobs, correct?
There was a period of time, there was a point in time when there was a change in the organization, when it was CH2M Hill, then it
Right.
was CH2, and then it became Jacobs. So it's transitioned several times.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? So the 17 FTE, they charge us for the first 6 months?
They didn't have the 17 FTEs. They don't have them yet.
Right.
This will prove it, and we'll get that. And in actuality, they're actually have already assigned a couple additional personnel. So their contention is they're actually providing 19 at the cost for 17. They're trying to win the favor back of the city and trying to get back in your good graces.
Okay. So do they know that we're, at this point at least, with the intent to take over the collection system?
Yes, they're aware. We have them working on an Amendment 4 because per this contract, they need to be presenting us estimates on what Amendment 4 is going to be. And in that, they've given us an initial look, see if they maintain the whole system, and then they're looking at what it would cost us if we took over collection.
Okay. But we have an idea already, right, with our consultant, what it's
Yes,
going to
for
cost?
ourselves. I'm sorry, what their cost to us will be.
Gotcha. Okay.
If they're just providing wastewater treatment plant operations and maintenance.
Okay.
So this doesn't have anything really to do with the amendment, but I don't know if it's just that my route is been a lot more work happening on our system. I've seen Jacobs out more. Is that happening? Are they getting out and doing some of that stuff that we had anticipated would have already been happening?
That's correct. They've really picked up and gotten back in the proper mode in servicing our collection system. They've made a concerted effort to take care of the backlog.
And are they doing well at chipping away with some of the problems that were on their hit list for that?
Yes,
So who oversees what they're doing and not doing? I mean, at this point, I mean, we talked about if we continued with Jacobs, we had with our consultant, and in prior meetings we talked about if we continued with him, that we probably should hire, not a project manager, but maybe a project person that would oversee this?
That's correct.
Would that not still be the suggestion of the staff, or is that, so if we did that, we should think about adding, at that time, if I remember correctly, Nicole and Jim and Roger, 130,000 on top of what Jacobs is charging us, because that's what we figured it would cost us for a person, am I correct?
Yes, and that actually is built in our budget already for this year. But we weren't sure which direction we were going at this point in time. But yeah, it would be a contract manager, and even as discussions occurred most recently with council about a FOG program,
Right.
We believe that would be folded underneath that person as well.
Right. Okay.
So when are you going to anticipate that you have a decision from us regarding the collection system in order to be able to make that transition? I mean, we don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, we will, if it's all right with the council, we will want to come back and begin talking about amendment 4 at your next work session. And then, once you make your decision, it's just basically 180 days out from when the transition occurs, should you make that decision.
Well, I think you've done remarkably well under the circumstances of where we left at the last meeting. So I think that's great at this time. So council, how do you want to proceed on this? Do you want to accept this?
I move to approve Jacobs Amendment 3 for the operation, maintenance, and management of the wastewater system for fiscal year ending 2021 for $2,194,184.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve Jacobs Amendment 3 for the operation, maintenance, and management of the wastewater system. Any other comments or discussion from the council?
Well, I think it is worth noting that Jacobs did come back to the table. It's unfortunate that we had to be so forceful for so long for them to do so, but I would like to thank staff and Jacobs for coming back with something that's more palatable.
Yeah, it's just too bad it couldn't happen earlier, because I know staff put in, how long you been negotiating? How many months?
Pardon, how many months? At least 6, probably closer to 9.
Yeah. So, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of staff time that's put into this, and it's unfortunate that it took, I don't know what, to make Jacobs agree to come to the table, which I'm glad they did, but hopefully in future agreements or negotiations, that won't be the case. So, I mean, I can't imagine, we had our finance department in, Roger, legal, Jim, any other people in public works, quite a few people involved in this, correct? Yeah.
I would concur with Councilor DeNovo. I didn't anticipate this. I don't know if you were surprised that there was any movement, but I was, and I'm glad to see that all that work that you put into it came back to benefit the city, at least the budget portion of the city.
I think that council's to be credited. The fact is that your message was received loud and clear.
I'd like to thank staff as well. I don't particularly feel Jacobs requires any thanks for doing what they're paid to do.
Oh, come on, I was throwing an olive branch, Drew.
I broke it.
You broke it. All right. Any other comments or questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Okay, next item, consideration of contract award for construction of culvert replacement project at 17th and 18th. Jim?
Yes, thank you. City contracted with the Dyer Partnership to prepare plans and specifications for 2 storm culvert replacements located in the east side area at the intersection of 17th and Filbert and 18th Avenue in Filbert. The plan also included repair of some sinkholes from Filbert Street between 17th and 18th. The project was advertised back in late November, and we opened bids December 9th. 9 bids were received. They ranged from $79,885 to $120,315. The engineer's estimate was $115,030. The low bid was LTM Incorporated, doing business as Knife River Materials, for $79,885. The engineer, our consulting engineer, recommends that the city accept the bid, and staff is recommending adding a 15% contingency for a total approved amount of $91,885. $867. That concludes my report.
Questions for Jim on this project?
I'm directionally challenged, Jim, so can I ask going forward that we include some maps in here? So I have
You bet.
honestly no idea where Filbert Street is.
Will do.
Thank you.
I don't either.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, how would you like to proceed, council?
I move that we award the contract to LTM Incorporated, DBA Knife River Materials for the 17th and 18th Avenue Culvert Replacement Project for $91,867, which includes a 15% contingency, and good job on the bid.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the contract to LTM Inc. At DBA Knife River Materials for 17th and 18th Avenue culvert replacement. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Number 8, consideration of contract to award to Pacific Excavation for Pump Station Number 1 flow meter installation, and it's the Jim Show.
Yes, so this, the city contracted with Dyer Partnership to prepare design plans and specs to install a flow meter at our new revamped pump station number 1. That one is on Front Street next to
you.
Chevron.
I know where that is. Perfect.
We had 6 bids received on this project, and they ranged from $135,700 to $191,225. The engineer's estimate was $181,120. The low bid was Pacific Excavation for $135,700, and they are the same contractor that did the reconstruction of Pump Station 1 for us. And our consulting engineer recommends the city accept the bid, and staff recommends adding a 15% contingency for a total approved amount of $156,055.
So isn't Pump Station fairly new?
Yes, but we didn't put a flow meter on it because that was going to be, at the time, the estimate was $400,000 to do that same job. But technology's changed in that amount of time.
Wow.
But we have a system that isn't quite doesn't need as much work to install.
So what will this flow meter do?
It'll let us know what the amount of flow, well, that pump station goes directly to the plant and takes flow from the southern portion of the city and from east side. And so with that flow meter, we'll have an idea of how much water is going to the plant before it gets there. And so we can make some adjustments to the plant to handle these additional flows that come from the pump station 1.
So you haven't been able to make that assessment right now because there was no flow meter on it?
That's
You've been
correct.
having to do that at the...
Right. This is more sophisticated and more accurate. What we had before is less so and doesn't give us an anticipation.
Any other questions, council? Hearing none, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to award the contract to Pacific Excavation, Inc. for Pump Station 1 flow meter installation project for an amount not to exceed $156,055, which includes a 15% contingency.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the contract to Pacific Excavation for Pump Station 1 flow meter installation. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Number 9, this is a public hearing to consider amending city park rules regarding open fires. Jim, you want to give us a little background on this before
Sure.
we do the public hearing?
This
Please.
past spring and summer, the Coos Bay Fire Department responded to a significant number of fires on undeveloped properties, including parks throughout the city. Some of these fires were set intentionally, others were unintentionally started due to the dry summer conditions. For the sake of public safety and the protection of public property, city staff recommends that recreational fires, campfires, and fires for warming or cooking be prohibited within the boundaries of the city parks without first obtaining a permit from the city. Note that propane cook stoves and grills are still authorized without a permit except for their use on the boardwalk and under pavilions. And what we're looking for is you to hold a public hearing, and if it pleases the council, enact the ordinance.
Okay. Did this go before the Parks Commission? No.
Yes, this did.
Kind of?
Email.
Carmen, did you want to make any comment about this?
I don't really have much to add on this.
Okay.
It's just, it's been recommended, it's been brought to the Parks Department from the community at large, and then Randy Dixon, of course, head of the Parks Department, brought it up, and we were all in consensus that it needs to happen
Okay.
for safety.
So I'm just curious, and maybe either one of you or the fire chief can respond to that. Are these planned situations where, people just didn't realize they couldn't have those in the park? Were they transient issues? Or is there any way to kind of peg what that is? And how do we enforce this?
I think I can answer that. The majority of the fires have been transient fires, or transient related, either warming fires or campfires for cooking that have either been left unattended or gotten out of control based on dry conditions. We don't really allow camping without a permit in parks, and this is just aggravated by having fires. Sometimes those fires get down underneath the base layer and smolder for several days before the wind kicks up and starts smoking again. So it creates a bit of a problem, particularly in John Toppin's Park and undeveloped areas of Mingus Park.
So we've been pretty fortunate considering how dry the conditions have been the last few years.
Yeah, we're fortunate that we live right on the coast where we have a marine layer that keeps field moistures high and temperatures low. So we're not likely going to see a ravaging wildfire like most of the Willamette Valley saw this last summer. It's not unheard of. Bandon has burned. Tillamook County has had some significant or historic fires, but it's still not likely here.
Just one more. So does this give you, is this a tool to
Absolutely,
enforce?
yes. If it eliminates one fire in a remote area of John Toppin's or Mingus Park, that's a win on our book.
This is actually going to be a tool for the police department. Currently, the police department doesn't have any recourse when they have someone with a fire. They can tell them they can't have it, but there's no park rule. And with no park rule, they cannot trespass them from the parks, because you can only trespass someone because of a violation of a park rule. So you're actually going to give the police department another tool to deal with the enforcement.
So just one comment, if this ordinance passes, I'm hoping that we can publicize this significantly so that citizens who are also using those can be our eyes if they see something suspect as well.
Sounds like an excellent article that can be authored through the fire department.
Well, maybe we're the,
Or for any department head that doesn't show up at tomorrow's department head meeting. Which would be the fire department.
Maybe a PowerPoint.
poor chief.
I wasn't going to be the one.
It might be
happy to
worth
put
a
something
press
together.
release too, Roger.
All right, at this time, I'll open public hearing to consider amending the city park rules regarding open fires. So anyone would like to come forth at this time and make a comment about this? This would be the time to do so. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And council, how would you like to proceed?
I move we enact ordinance, amending ordinance number 248, regulating activities within the Coos Bay, regulate activities and uses within the Coos Bay Park system as amended by ordinance number 476, ordinance number 458, ordinance number 428, and ordinance number 296.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to consider amending the city park rules regarding open fires. Melissa, would you do the roll call, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 248, regulating activities and uses within the Coos Bay Park system as amended by ordinance number 476, ordinance number 458, ordinance number 428, and ordinance number 296. Councilor DeNovo?
Aye.
Counselor Farmer,
Aye.
Counselor Kilmer,
Aye.
Counselor Marlar,
Aye.
Counselor Matthews,
Aye.
Counselor Miles,
Aye.
Mayor Benetti.
Aye.
Ordinance number 534 has been duly enacted.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion to consider Park Commission recommendation to alter hours of the operation of Empire and East Side boat ramps. Jim?
Sure. Currently, the boat ramps at Empire and East Side are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this has been something that our citizens and those even outside our community have enjoyed, as it allows them to use the boat ramps at any time of the day. But increase of the homeless population frequenting and camping at the Empire boat ramp has created increased accumulations of trash and increased use of and vandalism to the restroom facility. This has resulted in a major expenditure to the city to maintain the facilities on a 24/7 basis. With the ramps open 24 hours a day, the police department has limited ability to trespass. The Parks Commission and staff recommend limiting the hours of operation. And I need to make a revision to our report. I say dusk to dawn in the report, but based on more input from the police department, we think staff recommends that we put solid hours to it. So we're recommending open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then what we're requesting is your consideration of this, and we talk about it, and if you're in favor of it, we'll come back to you with an ordinance changing the hours.
So this went before the Parks Commission, I believe?
Yes.
And
No,
Carmen,
yeah.
you want to make any comments?
Yeah, we've heard a lot from the community about the presentation of our facilities and, the status of them. And then, of course, our city staff is having to put a ton of work in to keep these up to code during this pandemic. And it's obviously, if you read in here, frequent cleaning, at least sometimes twice a day or even more. I've talked with some of the city staff, and sometimes they have to clean the bathrooms up to 4 times a day, which is it's just too much. It's excessive. So I think going forward, the Parks Commission was all in consensus with moving to a dusk till dawn like scenario. A lot of the parks have unfortunately had to go that route. We are having some problems with the transient population. Doing some vandalism, and then it's not just them, of course, there's population in general, vandalism and just increased trash. So I think that we need to look at what we're able to keep open, and right now, you can see here it says, right now we spend $672 a week to clean all open public restrooms. Just to keep the boat ramp restrooms cleaned and in compliance, it would cost $525 a week. That's just for those ones specifically. So, it comes down to budget and safety at this point.
I was down at Empire Boat Ramp a week and a half ago, and, looking at it from the visitor perspective, it's not very welcoming. We just had a presentation at the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce's Economic Outlook Forum about the revenue that the shellfish and fishing industry bring to our community. So it's unfortunate that, there is not a place for the unhoused population, but I support this wholeheartedly, because it's just, it honestly, from my perspective, I didn't feel safe down there. And I'm sure if I didn't feel safe, others probably are feeling the same way.
Do we have incidents overnight, police incidents, that they're called to that area as well, overnight? Has that been increasing as well? I know we've had some problems in the past.
Yeah, from time to time, and it kind of depends on who's there at that particular time. But the accumulation, just showing up and just backing in a camp trailer and being there for days upon days upon days, and taking up the parking spaces that are, are there for the availability for the people that are using the boat ramp for its intended purpose. So I know Officer Babb, we had a pretty serious issue over the last few weeks, and Officer Babb worked real hard, got some compliance, and was able to get them cleared out. But if we don't do something, it's just a matter of time before they start filtering back in, and we're right back where we are again with, so.
It's really unfortunate that it's come to this. I have, over the years, spent a lot of time in that area, and I spent some time down there this past weekend, and just as an observer sitting in my car, it's kind of like a network that gets together down there. And they actually watched my activity, which made me uncomfortable. And so, it is life. It is unfortunate, but I think I have to side with our Parks Commission and our staff who are having to deal with this on a constant basis, that this is something we have to look at.
It is, and it has impacted some of the residents that live down in that area as well, so.
I mean, just thinking from a recreational standpoint, how often have you been at the dock past 10 p.m.?
Exactly.
That was going to be my question, is this doesn't cause any new restrictions on recreational fishermen or boaters or anything like that, does it?
Not really.
Well, I think that was the recommendation, why we changed from dusk till dawn. One, dusk and dawn changes throughout the year. And there are recreational boaters or fishermen that do like to go out rather early. So if we start at 5, we should be safe. And 10 p.m. would be safe as well. You will impact some people that do crabbing at night.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, you can't regulate something for one segment and not regulate it against them all. And that's where we have to be careful that we're not taking enforcement action against a particular class. We're making the same regulation for everyone.
So in a situation where you do have somebody that does some night crabbing, or they've been out fishing and it took them a while to get over the bar and get back in, what happens if they hit that past 10 mark and they're trying to pull their boat out?
Well, officers have what's called discretion to enforce all the rules. So the whole point of enforcement is to get compliance with the rules, and officers can employ discretion at any point in time if they believe there's a valid reason. They can just do an education instead of enforcement.
Okay.
Roger, does the city of North Bend, do they have rules with the North Bend boat ramp? California boat ramp, sorry.
I'm not really sure. I can check on that. But I'm assuming once you put rules on yours, they're going to have an issue.
Yeah, okay.
Rob, you any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, I was just going to say, about the only time it will affect anything is actually during tuna season. Based on the tide, there's a lot of times that we leave 3 or 4 in the morning and go out, and then we don't get back till late as well.
So again, then so do you see any problem with this as long as there's discussion with the police?
As long as they have discretion.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on this, anyone? So do they lock their restrooms at night then? They'll start doing that, is what'll happen?
That's what we'll have to do.
Okay.
I did send an email with some questions and concerns, and I think, I'm hoping that we can work with the host to maybe improve that area as well.
So,
The question about the host came up as well.
Okay.
And then we worked with some of Jim's staff today on some signage to make sure we got some better signage down there as far as camping related, bigger signs, and put, several more of them up. So there won't be, right now there's just a couple small little signs at the entrances of, it's particularly Empire, but there's going to be some better signage so people will know that there's no overnight camping and then what the hours are going to be. So.
Hey, Roger, can I keep on to this?
Yes.
I was also on the dock itself, and there is one set of dock that is really nice, but I happen to be on the other piece of dock And then I saw what it looked to be two really nice pieces of dock that were they weren't in the water, they were just up above. Are we replacing that? Should I know this, or what's the plan for that?
Well, actually, you'd already authorized the replacement of it. Unfortunately, they needed a couple of extra parts and they haven't been put in. But this is also the time of year that, because of wave action, that we have to pull out a couple docks to keep them from getting damaged.
Okay.
I do believe that the other docks were slated, or we're hoping to get a grant to replace those other docks in this next budget year.
Thank you.
And I believe it'll be the same for east side.
Okay, thank you very much.
So since we're talking, the ordinance hasn't been drafted yet, would it make sense to just close the bathrooms and not the entire facilities, or is that a weird?
Well, if you close just the bathrooms, I think we may be open for some litigation. We could open ourselves for litigation. But closing the facility itself gives the officers an additional tool. It means that no one is supposed to be there, and that you can take equal enforcement on everyone. While it already says no camping, it's sometimes difficult to enforce, but if it's actually closed and no one's supposed to be there, it'll make another tool for the officers to use.
I see. Okay.
Roger, I'm sorry, I'm full of questions. When the Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Umpqua, and Sayusla Indians finishes their development, I'm assuming we're going to have to look at this again, because I think they have tiny houses planned and a number of different activities that people might want to go out past 10.
It's possible, although our rules on that facility won't affect them. Of course, it could affect them if they wanted to be on it, but that might be an education piece as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would say I don't want to create a lot of heartburn for the people that live down in that area that are already impacted by this, but at the same time, we have to probably do something.
Yeah, I did receive 2 emails from 2 residents down in that area who were very supportive of additional rules. They both have been impacted, both have been victims of thefts and trespassing on their property. So they're hoping some additional rules of conduct might help that situation for them as well. Moving forward, of course, you don't have to take a vote. We just need consensus that you want us to draft something. And I would also suggest that we draft it with an emergency clause, so it'll be acted upon the time you vote.
So is there a consensus for them to go ahead and draft an
I think
ordinance
so.
as stated by Roger?
Sounds good.
All right, next item is city manager's report. Roger?
Well, let's see if we can get up the PowerPoint here. And I just clicked myself out. See if I can join again.
Roger, you need to do that at the beginning of the meeting.
I do.
Doesn't have maps.
I
probably need a training.
Definitely need training.
It's amusing to watch.
It's not coming up, but what I can tell you, today was kind of a banner day in downtown. As you know, we're working on South 4th Street, and today they came in and they put in place 7 or 6 of the new poles for the replacement street lamps, right? So the arms themselves aren't on, but the new posts are in. And they're easy to see. One, they're clean and shiny, but they're very tall. Things are moving on very well with that project, although it's not slated to be completed till the end of this next year. Let me just,
So the end of 2021?
End of spring, isn't it?
In the spring.
Oh, spring, okay.
Yeah. As to the safe routes for schools, I think it was just a couple weeks ago I shared with you that we're due to be completed at the end of this month. I'm back to give you a revised report that we are due to be completed at the end of next month. But if you've gone over there, things look really nice. They have painted the two retaining walls already, and most of the sidewalks are in. They're just down to the last pieces of that.
So the street itself is not going to have any attention to it?
That street itself is not. No, that project, most of those funds were dedicated for the specific purpose of creating sidewalks and couldn't be used for the road surface itself.
Okay.
So that'll have to be a future TUF fund or surface SRF funds. So that's going to have to be a future project, and plus we also have a couple other projects on the east side, fixing up the detour streets, and then a future bus route.
Okay.
Quite a bit of work there. Did want to provide you an update on the Front Street parking lot. As you know, we completed the required DEQ and EPA prospective purchase agreement. We have completed the transfer of the property. And then part of that PPA requirement was the crafting of a remediation action plan, which is just, I think, a fancy term for how we're going to clean it up. That had to go to DEQ for approval. We should have had that finished by now. I know this is the same song, second verse as many other times. But we've been waiting on DEQ, and I think for good reason. Most of their personnel have been busy dealing with mitigation of fire events in other parts of the state. We're fortunate we were not one of those victims, but we've fallen victim to the unintended consequences. We are told that we should have at least some responses to that plan by the end of this week. And then staff is, we're just waiting on available staff time to craft the request for proposals to do the demolition of the building. And from there, I think we're already underway for the design plans. And then once we begin that should be finished up, and then we can go out for requests for proposals to actually do the work and create the parking lot. As the council's aware, the Urban Renewal Agency is partnering with the Coos History Museum. We're hiring a design consultant to undertake design plans for the museum plaza, connecting boardwalk from the plaza to Coos Bay Village, and then a kayak launch on the south side of that museum. Staff did a great job in putting together a request for qualifications. That was released and has been publicized. And the responses are due January 5th. We are getting responses, getting lots of comments.
So on the kayak launch, Roger, are we going to go try to get funding from ODF and W?
There are a number of different places we can go for funding on that, and we'll probably go to multiple places. I think ODF and W is one. Part of that could be, we can also go to the Marine Board. If we include like a fishing pier at the end,
Right.
that gets us to the ODF and W.
Which would be nice to have there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, another aspect would be TSOC. We've funded numerous different kayak launches. So.
No, I think this is going to be good, and the timing's right. One, you need the parking lot that you're going to create in order to help service that, or we're going to have some problems with traffic congestion down there. But that's another thing that the TGM grant committee is going to be working on what are those impacts and how are you going to mitigate the various modes of travel and the parking in that region. Just a quick update, I did speak with the port director, and they're moving forward with discussions with their port commission. I did have a discussion with Representative Kathy McEwen, and I shared with her the proposal that the agency had made. Someone's calling to check on my car warranty.
I thought I was the only one that got those.
Oh, yeah.
But and she shared with me when she was on the Port Commission that they had actually undertaken design plans for a residential development over there in the early 2000s. When I spoke to John, he said that they would look to try and dig that up. There's been a huge turnover in staff there, so there's no historical memory on that project itself. But if there's already plans there, she was extremely excited because, one, she knows that it was some desire of the port in the past, and we have a need for housing.
You know, also, Roger, I remember the city was involved in that, and we talked about one of the issues that we're running into if that happened was the transportation into that facility. So it was talked about having a road when you come up, you would go straight and around, and at that time, so I don't know if we have any plans or documentation that would reference that?
Yeah, that might have been from, I think it was 1998, when it went through the Planning Commission and the Council for approval. I think it was probably closer to 2006, 2007 that the Port Commission was looking at the other development, but we might have something on that.
Yeah, and I think there might have been a developer interested at that time also to put that road in, so. We have some developers around here that, from my understanding, they're interested in continuing on, so maybe it might be something interesting to get them involved. Anyway.
If memory serves me correctly, that was a pretty detailed plan. I was on the planning commission at the time when we passed that. And it showed some wetlands areas over there with walking paths and home sites. And the waterfront part of it was commercial uses. And it was very detailed. It wasn't just a, vague, over here we'd have houses and over here we'd have this. It was very well put together. And I'm surprised that we don't have a copy of that running around here somewhere.
I'm sure we do downstairs.
And also, I think they even talked about having a dock there at some point where they could even go between the two docks.
They did,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of discussion on it. It's just too bad it didn't move forward earlier. Anyway.
Well, I think the atmosphere in the urban environment is right. There are developers looking to develop, and there are some very challenged properties in the city, and that one, although challenged, is less challenging.
Now, also, isn't that in the urban renewal district?
It is.
There's incentives out there too for housing.
There is.
That's not in the, what's it?
Induction.
The opportunity zone, right?
It is not.
Too bad. Can't have everything, I
So I'm
guess.
hoping they have something positive to report that they want to move forward. If not, we'll probably have to just have a discussion about how that affects our buildable lands inventory.
Right.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, you gave staff permission to move forward with some additional urban renewal street projects connected to Front Street. I believe it was Cedar between Bayshore and Front, Date between Bayshore and Front, Birch between Bayshore and Front, and then Alder between Broadway and Bayshore, or fronting Natural Grocers. Wanted to report to you that on that the plans are 30% done. All the surveying's been done. They expect to have all the work necessary to move forward and go out to bid in either late February or March, and hopes to have it completed, the project completed later this budget year. As far as Coos Bay Village, I shared with you at our last meeting that the developers had awarded the contract to undertake the intersection work. What we're still waiting on is for them to go out for bid on the rail crossing. Unfortunately, we are being held up a little bit with a project review from the port. My understanding that's now on, their person who was on vacation's back. I know the developer's chomping at the bit to get that done. So that should be going out soon, but while that's happening, we're waiting for that to happen. The developers have poured another foundation. It's actually building B, or the closest one to that intersection. And I also noticed today that Spectrum has opened their office. So now there's 2 businesses that are open at that location.
Roger, as a reminder, I can't remember, is it 6 months? It'll be 6 months until those projects are complete because no new businesses could actually be on site yet because you need that exit entrance.
Yeah, traffic impact analysis revealed that they could only open up the first 3 buildings before they needed to have the additional capacity for traffic to be able to flow through there.
So we're still hoping 6 months is a realistic timeframe?
Yeah, I think the 6-month mark is because some of the product's going to take that long,
Okay,
like the traffic control arms.
okay, thank you.
If I was able to show you this nice PowerPoint, I'd show you this nice picture of a boarded up Connects building. And if you've driven by lately, Connects, the very nice old car wash that was next to it is no more. It's gone, and half of Connects is gone. So I expect by the end of the day tomorrow, the entire building will be gone, and they're going to be making that site ready for a new First Interstate Bank. So things are really happening. If you've driven by what's going to be the new Coos Bay liquor store, they've got most of it enclosed and are working on that. Someone mentioned there are no windows. Don't know what to say. That's probably not something they really want is windows.
But Natural Grocers, on that one-on-one frontage, they don't have any windows either.
Yeah.
And they've done a very nice job
They
of
have.
the mural on there, and so it's very,
Mini Pet Mart doesn't have windows,
so true.
just a door, just 2 doors.
Yeah, they've had a little bit of problem with some window breakage on that. But that concludes my report.
Thank you, Roger. Council comments. Drew?
It's a brief thing. A couple of weeks back, somebody had come to us to talk about the struggles of small business during COVID, and I'd indicated that I'd reach out to my colleagues at the League of Oregon Cities, and we'd see what kind of communication we could get with the state about those issues. Later this week, it was going to be tomorrow, but now it's going to be Thursday or Friday. 7 of us on the League of Oregon Cities Board have the opportunity to present for 2 minutes each to the governor. One of my colleagues, Keith Mays, he's the mayor of Sellwood, is going to pick up the COVID-19 economic recovery investments. So he's going to talk about incentive programs and modifications of existing incentive programs to provide additional assistance to small businesses to help them adapt or to help them sustain throughout the remainder of the pandemic. My section is going to be mental health because that's where my background is the strongest, talking about primarily wraparound services and diversions to keep the mentally ill folks out of jails and in locations where they can receive the services they need. Particularly important because I learned earlier this week that it sounds like the state hospital is going to stop taking civil commitments, which means our communities are going to have facilities that can take care of folks that would otherwise go up to the state hospital. It's a challenging idea.
So how do they expect us to afford this or have a facility to do this?
And that's what I'm going to try and squeeze into 2 minutes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Thanks, very good report. Hopefully it'll go well. Keep my fingers crossed. Carmen?
Well, I'm nowhere near as proactive as Drew is over here, but I appreciate the work that you're doing. That's awesome. Yeah, this is a very trying time. Many of you know or should know by now that all of the Oregon coast is now in the extreme risk category for our state's assessment of COVID-19 cases and caseloads. So we have new restrictions coming into effect on Friday. So everybody just try to be safe and try to social distance, wear your mask, help each other out so we can get out of this extreme risk case zone and maybe drop down to the next tier so we could all open up sooner rather than later. That's what I have.
Thanks, Carmen. Phil?
Yeah, Carmen, it's really difficult, and I would also, just to carry that a little further, encourage people as as much as they can. There's lots and lots of places that are doing takeout or curbside delivery. Even retail stores are accommodating very well. You can pull up out front and they'll bring your merchandise to you. So any way that we can try to get this behind us quicker is better. At the same time, I just want to say on a different note, thank you to staff for such a great year. And I know the mayor will probably have some comments about our little visit we had yesterday with staff. But it was a pleasure for me to be able to contribute to that. And thank you to all of you for everything that you do for this city. Your tireless efforts, they don't go unnoticed. And it's a privilege. It's a real privilege for me to serve this city and to be a part of this group. And as this year winds down, I just want to say thank you.
Nice comments, Phil.
Yeah,
Thank you.
ditto. Good job.
Lucinda?
Thanks, Phil. I have to go after you. So I agree. Thank you to the staff for all their efforts. We had a Travel Oregon meeting this morning, and I was really proud to speak to the group about Operation Gift Card. So I don't know if everyone is familiar with this, but the mayor of North Bend and Mr. Mayor got together and wanted to find a way to help our restaurants during this time. And so the cities of Coos Bay, North Bend, SOWIB, Wild Rivers Coast Alliance, and Travel Southern Oregon Coast raised nearly $35,000 to purchase gift cards. And those gift cards are $20 gift cards, so every restaurant in the area who wanted to participate, the VCB is spearheading this or facilitating this. We're not using VCB monies, but they're, Joe, you can jump in anytime. Each restaurant, the VCB will buy, I think, $15, $20 gift cards, if I remember correctly. And then on December 18th, the VCB will be selling those for half price in hopes that people will buy them, and then those gift cards can be used in our local restaurants. I didn't say that very eloquently, but I truly want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Jessica Engelke, the mayor of North Bend, and everyone who worked together on that project. It was really it was a proud moment to report on it. I feel so grateful to be living in this community, the generosity, we talk about it all the time, just how incredibly generous this community is. And there were a lot of smiles on people's faces when I reported out that information. And these type of programs, these grassroots, to people just having a conversation, these things make the difference, and these things will get us through this pandemic. So kudos to all involved. And that is all I have.
Just a question on,
Sorry. Go ahead.
so the restaurants that participated, and I was shocked to see how many restaurants and bars, restaurant facilities that we have, over 90 in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston. But the gift cards were purchased at full value.
Right.
That is correct.
They are
yes.
being sold to the public for half value
Right.
on Friday. So it's a great deal for the holiday season, and the businesses got a shot in the arm immediately from this. What a great thing.
You said that so much more eloquently than Councilor Kilmer. Thank you.
Well, I just want to make sure that I understood that I, like you, am proud of this community.
And they go on sale on Friday, you said?
Yeah, Friday at the VCB, or at the Tourist Information Center, excuse me.
At
Our
what time?
tourism.
It starts at 10.
Nine.
Nine?
It's 9 a.m. They can only have 10 people inside the building. So KDOC will be down there. We're going to bring some Christmas music.
Ah.
And Mike the Bear is going to entertain the crowd, I heard.
And there'll be a donation box if people
Yeah.
want
Correct.
to donate.
If you want to donate to it. And then each individual can buy up to 10 gift cards, but only one gift card per establishment. Rob, you had a question?
It got answered. through that discussion.
By Stephanie, yeah.
All right, Lucinda, anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Stephanie?
Well, a couple of things. I know that the letter writing campaign for Shutter Creek facility is underway. That's being spearheaded by South Coast Development Council, right, SCDC. I always get all my letters mixed up. And they have a template that discusses the significant impact that that has on not just the neighboring community, but government, business, and payroll that goes back into this community. I would encourage you to check on that, and if you're interested, to participate in that. Shutter Creek is a medium or a minimum security facility located in Hauser, and it's a prison facility, but there's about 90 employees at the facility that are from all of the communities. It also, I think 22% of the budget for Lakeside's wastewater treatment is impacted by that facility being in operation. It's been on the chopping block before, and the community came together. It was pulled back, but it is slated for a budget cut to be closed in the next biennium. So I think that's an important issue, especially this time of year when we've had so many devastating things happen as far as the economy in our market. Also, we talked about the COVID-19, and I would just encourage folks, I know it's a very difficult, sometimes political subject, but I don't think people are as aware that we could turn this around. I was in a press conference with Coos Health and Wellness when we knew we were going to be pulling data from this county, making the decision on whether they were going to move from high to extreme. And the question was asked, how could we turn this around and how quickly can it be done? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, if we can get our numbers to go down, we can get this turned around. So that means you've got to do the precautions. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, and if nothing else, for the benefit of our businesses that make our towns a wonderful place to live. And then, of course, the last thing I wanted to report on was bus jam.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I had a lot of sleepless nights before bus jam because we just didn't know what was going to happen. And just like the Operation Gift Card, this community came together, huge contributions that served over, I want to say, close to 1,100 children, which is the biggest it's ever been, so the need was great.
Nice.
Over 400 families, well over. And our no-shows was down significantly. Sometimes people are unable to attend because work gets in the way or something. By having the appointment system that was created because of COVID, it actually created a better situation for families who were receiving, and it was smooth and people loved it. I can't thank this council enough. Every person in this council, staff we've seen participate in this, and you're probably all dying to know that even though I out-toyed Coos Bay over in North Bend, they raised a significant amount of cash this year. That means that the donation to the food cupboards, the 14 food cupboards that we supply food to, will get almost nearly, from that 5-hour event, almost 100,000 pounds of food.
Wow.
Which is
That's a lot of food.
incredible, absolutely incredible. And it is because we all work together. And so I guess I'll give you the results. I'm calling it for them because they are not, I represent North Bend on this one particular event. They are not willing to call it, but because of the money that was raised, Coos Bay won.
Yay.
Do we get our trophy
Yeah,
this
is it
year?
gonna
You
come?
do get the trophy.
Yeah. Are you going to keep it at your office or are you going to bring it to us?
I was gonna bring it, well, I gotta get it marked, but yeah, you know, you guys just stay on me about that, we'll make sure we get it here.
Seems to be an ongoing issue with contests being called lately.
Yes.
Anyway, good job to our community.
Nice job to the bus jam staff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, great job,
You too,
everybody.
And you,
Yeah.
Stephanie. Yeah, absolutely. Rob?
I just have a few quick things. One was, I had Shutters Creek on my mind as well, and I was thinking that maybe the council as a whole could actually sign a letter to send. I don't know, any consensus on that or what the process is?
Well, is everyone agreed? So we'll ask staff, probably Roger, who likes to write letters, I think, thank goodness, if you would draft a letter in our behalf, and we'll be glad to send that to the appropriate legislature, the governor, Shutters Creek, or no, the correctional department, right? All of the
Yeah.
above?
I think for sure it'll have to go to the governors because this is out of the governor's proposed budget, and then I believe our area legislators need to be included.
Roger, the governor, I heard the governor's office just announced a special session on December 21st. This is not going to come before, okay?
It will not.
Okay, great.
But you did testify about Shutters Creek at the last session, am I correct? Or before there was a committee?
I testified at the last legislative event for this, and then I actually testified this morning, or at least spoke to one of the governor's staff.
And so I think that those comments, if you want to share them with us, but I think those comments could be in this letter. Basically, Roger had stated, you know, that the urban areas are more needed than these, you know, metropolitan areas, displacing the workers up there. They can go into other facilities where they can't here. So Roger was very good at explaining that, and I think those comments, if you could incorporate them in the letter, would be very appropriate. Okay, do that. All right, Rob?
And my second one, I think it was already answered. I just wanted to know the homeless work group status. We passed one ordinance tonight, and we're looking at another one because of results of homelessness. So I would like to maybe get at the, I can't think of the word, but
Reconvening stage.
Reconvene.
yeah, there you go. Just so that we can start, I mean, solving some problems, solving some more of these homeless problems. And then lastly, I was wondering if we could get a status on the parking lot projects. You gave us the one behind Old City Hall, and I think we also discussed one on 4th Street possibly.
Yeah, the one behind Old City Hall, that one is in the design phase right now, and I believe we're also waiting on environmental comments.
Right.
But once that's done, then we can finally go out for requests for proposals, and then the agency can award, or actually it'll be the council award this one. And I think the ones on 4th, those are current parking lots that we have. There's just some work that'll be done on that using the same funds.
That was all I had.
Okay, just to follow up a little bit on Rob, so the old fire station site, we've extended the RFP for development on that site, correct?
Yes, and into February.
Okay. And so on the Operation Gift Card, I just want to also thank the staff, and Nicole and the finance department really stepped up. This was a quick decision and cooperation with this group. Within 2 weeks, we had this out, and we're giving money out, and now here we are. The intent was to get this out before Christmas and the holidays, and it was successful. So I want to say kudos to the staff and Nicole's finance department. I know that they had to write many checks, and Janice has done a wonderful job at the Visitor Convention Bureau to step up and also get involved in this with Allison and Cheryl down there. And then I want to thank Ken and Rob for attending most all of our meetings. It's great to have you here and support us, I hope, and agree with us most of the time. And I can always tell, even when you have a mask on, Rob is definitely, gives his, you can tell where he's at, right? You know, he's got the head going. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, the Shutter Creek, we've already talked about. We also have PAC West. I need to remind everyone that they were involved, our lobby group, last time and go around. And I know this is on their top priority to handle this for us, unless we want to direct them differently. And also the library trying to get funding for that. So they're already on board to do that. And so I think we have people all in the right places with Drew, with League of Oregon Cities, and Roger, and everyone else. Hopefully they can pull this off and get this day here. You know, and this community always steps up, and I'm proud of this community, proud of being part of this community, and it's just wonderful to see, you know, during difficult times, they always step up, you know. I go back and reiterate, you know, throughout the years, this committee always, you know, pulls up their bootstraps and just moves forward, and no matter what the problem may be. I want to thank personally the council and the staff for all the hard work they've done for 2020. It's not been easy. There's been a lot of meetings, a lot of work, a lot of tough times, a lot of tough decisions. I don't think any of us, if we would have been here last year trying to tell, we couldn't even project this or tell a story. We couldn't even wrote a book or a novel that would have covered this. Talk about like science fiction, definitely something out of unknown. Anyway, I hope that everyone, you know, 2020 is behind us. 2021 would be better. COVID-19 hopefully will be in a spot that it won't be impacting us and this community the way it is, and we can get back to some normalcy. And so I want to wish everyone a safe holiday, and again, because we won't be meeting until 2021.
We got a work
We got
session.
a work session
Work
next
session,
week.
but not a council.
Not a council meeting, right.
So I want to wish everyone happy holidays, a good new year, and we look forward to a great coming 2021. And I look forward to serving with all of you. And we have no urban renewal meeting, and so I get to adjourn this meeting. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Mayor?
Cheers.